I don't like to speak as a reader. I don't like books that wag their finger at me and tell me what to think. My view is that's my business. I don't like being lectured. I think, this goes beyond literature. I mean, I think as human beings, we are all people who tell each other stories to try and understand the kind of people that we are. To try and it can be at a personal level, it can be at the family level, it can be at the community level, and it can be at the national level. The nations have national stories, and families have family stories, and we all use this strange thing, this idea of narrative as a way of telling us the story of ourselves, so it's a more fundamental human need than just something that writers do, is what I'm saying. But and so for me, as a writer, it's always been very important to have a very strong storyline, because I think there are great books that are written in other ways, where the writer is more interested in focusing on psychology or form, formal devices. And I mean, those are, of course, very important in any novel. But for me, the story is the engine. I always say to students, if you want to build a big car, you should put a big engine in it. And for me, the story is that. It's the thing that drives everything else. The kind of fiction that I first grew up with. I mean, if you read things like the 1001 Nights or the Kathasarit Saga, or those old ancient story compendiums, they love stories inside stories. Yes. They love to have crowds of stories competing for your attention, and even if you go to, as I have done, go to listen to oral storytellers in, like, for example, I did this in Kerala many years ago. Their performances are also, they're not just one story. They're like 6 stories jumbled together, some of which are personal, some are political, some are mythological, and they're juggled like balls in the air, and so for me, that was always very interesting, and I wanted to find a way of doing that in a written down form, to try and tell, because, if you grow up in India, the first most obvious fact about India is multitude. Our stories are never just one story. They're a story amongst a huge crowd of stories. And I thought, how do you represent that? How do you represent a world which is crowded with stories, through which the story you want to tell must make its way?
Yes.
And I've always, in a way, been thought like that. I don't like to speak as a reader. I don't like books that wag their finger at me and tell me what to think. And I my view is that's my business. And not I don't like being lectured. What I like is to create a space which the reader likes to be in. And the reader is taken on a journey that they enjoy being taken on. And then during that process, yes, you can challenge people. You can make them question things or rethink things or feel things in a way that they maybe didn't feel before, or etc. So, but if you have engaged readers with a story, then they'll follow you. They'll follow you because the great desire to find out what happens next is the greatest driving force in literature.